What's up, Nation? Really appreciate everybody for tuning in. I think that last year left such a bad taste in everybody's mouths that they just don't have any surety of what's going to happen this year. And of course, we living in a time where we got all of this virus stuff that's going on, so we don't get the crazy highlights, we don't get the wonderful feeling as it relates to these rookies coming in and things like that. Of course, we would have been seeing the rookies mini camp and beyond, right? But I want people to understand that last year happened last year. We had Jason Garrett. I know that he was not all of the problems. I know that we had issues on multiple situations. And some people are looking at 8-8 was the worst thing ever happened, right? In life. They're like, oh, Cowboys went 8-8. And especially with the talk tracks of the quarterback and going through the ups and downs of some people saying that, hey, he's the best thing since sliced bread, right? And some people saying that, hey, he's the worst thing that ever happened to the Cowboys. Matter of fact, some people with the belief have more feelings and hopes as it relates to 2015, going in with Brandon Whedon, going in with a Matt Castle, going in with a Kellen Moore. I want people to understand that last year happened. It's gone. It's over with. Stop bringing up the fact that we didn't beat the Eagles. That wasn't the only game we lost. And on top of that, when we look at it, we can go back and back and back. I think it was 3 consecutive years. You win the playoff. And it was under a certain head coach. Not going to point any fingers. And shout out to the Eagles for winning. I look at it like this. If the Dallas Cowboys, if we had a better special team unit, right? If we would have won against the Eagles, we would still have the same head coach from last year. Let me repeat, we would still have the same coach from last year. And that same coach been here for multiple years. So, like I'm saying, let's pump the brakes. The sky's not falling. Well, some people feel like the sky's falling due to this virus thing that's going around. But let's pump the brakes. Look at it and say to yourself, okay, we got a new philosophy on the defensive side of the ball. Last year, our special teams was ranked 32nd. There was a unique quote out there, and shout out to Dallas.now. They have a unique, wonderful, beautiful illustration, and I might post on one of my feeds here. The 2010 San Diego Chargers, at the time they were San Diego, number one in offense, number one in defense, dead last in special teams. I want you guys to Google and look up. Let me know whether or not they made it to the playoff that year. See, special teams is very valuable. And of course, I go back to saying this time and time again. There's 3 phases in football, right? But then there's a special key. It's the 4th flavor of those phases. But it's 3 phases. You got offense, you gotta perform well on offense. Defense, you gotta perform well on defense. And special teams, you gotta perform well on special teams. But what marries all of those things up together? Coaching. Flat out coaching. Coaches look at situation and say, okay, this is what we need to improve on. This guy's what we need to get rid of. And that guy, he can't cut the mustard, what have you. And they actually elevate somebody from being good to great. And actually got somebody from being great to excellent or beyond that or elite, baby. And they take bad guys and they perform and they work on their technique so that they become better. They take bad guys and elevate them to good. Then over a course in the period of time, they become, great players, believe it or not. But also it takes another end of this too. It takes the players to grab hold in what the coach is trying to input and put their philosophies out there. And then ultimately, what happened, believe it or not, like Ripley's, believe it or not, is that those guys that fall or fell upon the coaching philosophy begins to become mini coaches themselves. I recall a time way back in 1995 season, the 95-96 season. There's a documentary out there. The wonderful Troy Aikman. He said, man, these coaches are not holding people accountable. We got to win in spite of those coaches. We got to make sure that we are out there. That 95, 96 season, I know it's been 25 years. I know it's my beard going to be gray by the time people will understand how long that been, right? I didn't have any facial hair at the point. But what he was saying is that he had to reach real back, deep down in his pockets to where when Jimmy was here, to make sure that he held the players accountable. I'm talking about the player on the field. They call them player coaches, right? But that's what I'm saying. Sometimes, and I'm not saying that Mike McCarthy, I don't want people to say, well, Law is saying that Mike McCarthy is Jimmy Johnson-esque, or Mike McCarthy is Tom Landry-esque. But what I'm looking at when you start talking about Mike McCarthy, what he's doing is it not just him. It's Tom Sula, Mike Nolan, it's George Edwards, it's even Al Harrison. It's also the other guy, Maurice Linguist. And it's an extra year added to Kellen's Moore resume. You add all of those things together and you will have a better situation. Now, what people gonna say is this right here? Well, Jason Garrett, he had those guys, his contemporaries to be placed upon him or what have you. But we talking about Scott Linehan and we talking about Papa Rob Marinelli. You cannot get any more vanilla than what those were. Hey, and then when we had Bill Callahan, of course we saw some, I'm gonna repeat, some consistency as it relates to offensive line play and running attack. But he just couldn't stand or last long under this administration. But those stories of the past. You guys can dig through and comb through those type of situations. But I come here to tell you guys that when you think about it, let's talk about offensive side of the ball. We were number one last year, but we couldn't punch it in. So what would be the focal point for this year? I'm going to wait for a second. Punching it in. You got to punch it in. So red zone, I think that they're going to be installing some red zone philosophy, some schemes, and how we can improve that. And to add the extra spice to it, Cowboy Nation, is that by show of hands, do anybody believe that this particular team will be ranked 32nd or dead last or bottom to, right in that cusp of being horrible as it relates to special teams? Do anybody believe that under bone fossils, you see what I'm saying? Is that this is what coaches do. They go out there and they get the best of the best to coach. I digress. But do you guys feel that this particular staff, the way Mike McCarthy is assembling or have assembled everybody, do you guys really think that we're going to be on the bottom half now? Field position is everything. I'm going back to all the way to 2010 or 11, whatever season that was. You guys can cross-reference it. The Chargers, number one in offense, number one in defense, or top in offense, top in defense, however you want to look at it. Bottom to last as it relates to special team. Did you guys think that they looked at that and said, man, we need to keep the special team unit? No. You got to figure out ways to change that part. So if you guys really think that all of a sudden, and of course, I know we're in this crazy climate right now as it relates to viruses, but do you guys think that this special team, if we have a season, will be ranked bottom half again? Coaches coach. Coaches coach. Just like when everybody is thinking like, okay, yeah, these wide receivers had a lot of drops last year. Don't you think that there's going to be a focal point on creating situations, different philosophies, understanding, okay, we can't drop the ball? And all of a sudden, too, this right here. And I hate when people say, well, he's only protecting Dak Prescott because he's a brother. And I got multiple comments in my comment boxes about that. My thing is, it's not because he's a brother, but these are the facts. Dak Prescott every year improved. Even in his down year, he improved. In 2017, he picked up some things to help out his mechanic. On top of that, before those offensive linemen went down, And before the Atlanta Falcons game, the Cowboys were still averaging 27 to 28 points a game. So I want people to just fall back, look back at everything, evaluate everything, and say, man, we got a new coaching staff involved. And even if this is Dak Prescott last year, don't you think he's going to have to try to prove, something? He got something to prove, right? So you might get your best Dak Prescott now. And even if the Joneses, or if they not really sold in or balled in on him, wouldn't this be a prime opportunity to slap that tradable franchise tag on him again? Not the exact same franchise tag, or let him test the market and see what you can get out of Dak Prescott. That's objectively speaking. Not saying that he's going to go anywhere, but I'm just pulling out some things. Or wouldn't that be a great time, even if Andy Dalton showcased some things, maybe 2 or 3 game on a skid or what have you, and the Cowboys bring in Andy and he shows some promises before he goes back onto like a losing situation? Wouldn't there be something to see how you can balance those things out? In actuality, I don't see Andy Dalton doing anything, but I can tell you that Dak Prescott, he's going to be ready. He's going to be locked, loaded, and laser focused in, because that's all we've been seeing since he's been here. And yes, he's not the best thing since sliced bread, but I will say this. When you have Tony Pollard, Ezekiel Elliott, Cedarian Lamb, CD Lamb, TD Lamb, when you have him, what's this guy name? Michael Gallup, Charles, Amari Cooper. You have all of those weapons. I can give you guys that. No more excuses, right? Let's see what this team can do. Let this season go through before we start kicking the can on everything. With all that being said, if you like this content, hit that share button. Let a friend, neighbor, foe know where to go when they want to tune in to Cowboy Sports Talk and Beyond. My name is Law Nation, LAW Nation. We're on multiple platforms. Let's go. Let's grow, Cowboy Nation. That's been my time. I really thank you all for yours. And remember, you're listening to nothing but the best. Let's go.